El Mayo a mí me...
El Mayo is known to be one of the most dangerous and brutal cartel leaders in all of history. So when a YouTuber disrespected his cartel, El Mayo reacted in a predictably explosive and murderous way. Ismael El Mayo Zambada is one of Mexico's most notorious drug lords and the longtime leader of the Sinaloa Cartel, one of the most powerful criminal organizations in the world. Born in 1948 in Sinaloa, he began his career in drug trafficking in the 1970s, focusing on the cultivation and smuggling of marijuana and opium. Unlike his former partner, Joaquín El ChapoGuzmán, El Mayo evaded authorities for decades. Known for his strategic mind and low profile, he has maintained control over vast drug routes, fueling the cartel's dominance in global cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl distribution. Drug cartels in Sinaloa, particularly El Mayo's powerful Sinaloa Cartel, have woven themselves deeply in the state's societal fabric, controlling virtually every aspect of daily life in the poor Mexican state. Their reach extends beyond physical territory into the digital realm, where social media has become an unexpected battleground. Criminal organizations, such as the one run by El Mayo, have weaponized platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram to showcase their power, attract followers, and intimidate rivals. It's a quick, easy, and effective method of dealing with those aspects of business. In this volatile environment, social media influencers and content creators face an impossible choice: align with cartel culture or risk becoming targets of violence. In late October 2023, Culiacan TikToker El Chilango became one such unfortunate victim. Known for his lighthearted and comedic content, he was ambushed and murdered by two gunmen while recording a video. They mercilessly shot him to death before walking away. His death was a grim prelude to a series of targeted attacks on influencers in the region, underscoring the dangers of social media in cartel-controlled areas. The message was clear: cartel wanted total control, and if you spoke up against them or otherwise humiliated them, then you would suffer the consequences. Just weeks later, El Chilango met his untimely end. Another influencer, Lebuardo Aispuro, better known as El Gordo Peruci, was brutally killed. He was widely known as El Gordo Peruci, was a rising star in Mexico's social media scene. Hailing from Culiacan, Sinaloa, he gained thousands of followers through his relatable and humorous content on YouTube and other platforms.
Se revelan detalles importantes sobre la relación del Gordo Peruci y el crimen organizado. Y es que en las últimas horas se ha vuelto viral una fotografía donde supuestamente se encuentra el influencer rodeado de múltiples figuras del cártel de Sinaloa.
Lebuardo's videos often featured him playing video games with friends, reviewing local restaurants, and engaging in lighthearted banter. Occasionally, he would incorporate firearms or jokingly reference organized crime, a reflection of the environment in Sinaloa. It was all very inoffensive and seemingly harmless. But on December 9th, 2024, Aispuro's life was cut tragically short. Earlier that day, he had uploaded a video discussing a seemingly mundane incident, the theft of his Christmas lights. In the video, Aispuro expressed frustration and blamed the act on individuals linked to El Mayo Zambada's faction of the Sinaloa Cartel.
Ya ven que empezaba de ahí, todo para arriba, allá está la extensión donde está enchufada, y después que bajaba por toda la acá y no está.
He revealed that he had turned off his security cameras after rumors spread in Culiacan, warning residents to avoid recording cartel-related activities. Despite his anger, his tone was conversational, not confrontational, a hallmark of his approachable online persona. He had never been part of any controversy, and he hadn't planned on starting then.
Para los que no son de Culiacán, a lo mejor no están enterados, a lo mejor no han escuchado de algún otro youtuber, no lo sé, pero aquí en Culiacán anduvo un rumor que quitaran sus cámaras o que las desconectaran para que no anduvieran subiendo videos, aunque yo nunca he subido nada desde que empezó todo el desmadre aquí en Culiacán, desde que se paralizó. Yo nunca he subido videos, no he compartido videos de nada de eso, no me gusta a mí, pues por lo mismo, para no tener ningún problema.
However, later that evening, as Lebuardo and his wife prepared to leave their home in the 21st de Marzo neighborhood, tragedy struck. A group of armed men ambushed them outside their residence, opening fire. The attack was brutal and deliberate, leaving no chance for survival. Lebuardo was pronounced dead at the scene, while his wife was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Despite medical efforts, she succumbed to her injuries shortly thereafter. The murder of El Gordo Peruci sent shockwaves through the social media community. Lebuardo's death death and that of El Chilango were both tragedies. In both cases, the perpetrators operated with impunity, highlighting the chilling reality of organized crime's dominance in Sinaloa. Speculation about the motives behind Labuardo's murder range from his lighthearted references to cartels in his videos to his perceived disrespect toward powerful criminal factions. Some believed his comments about the theft of his Christmas lights and his criticism of local cartels had crossed an invisible line, attracting fatal attention. Others suggested that his growing online influence may have made him a target in a region where cartels monitor and control narratives, even in the digital realm. Ismael's death is emblematic of a broader trend of violence targeting social media personalities in Mexico. Influencers in cartel-dominated areas often walk a precarious line, balancing their online personas with the harsh realities of their environment. While many avoid any mention of organized crime, others, like Ismael, navigate this treacherous terrain with humor or commentary, sometimes unintentionally provoking powerful enemies. The violence did not stop there. In November 2023, another influencer, Jesus Miguel Vivanco Garcia, known as El Jasper, was found dead in a remote location in Culiacan. His body bore 70 gunshot wounds, a brutal execution that shocked even those familiar with cartel violence.
Sin vida encontraron en la mañana de este sábado a Miguel Vivanco, quien era youtuber y había ganado notoriedad en plataformas de YouTube junto a su amigo y compañero Marquitos Toy.
El Jasper had collaborated with Marcos Eduardo Castro Cardenas, alias Marquitos Toys, a controversial YouTuber alleged to have ties to Los Chapitos, a faction of the Sinaloa Cartel.
Yo en mi ciudad, en Culiacán, en mi estado, y lo presumo y lo digo, he minimizado, por ejemplo, en el hospital pediátrico del apoyo que ocupaban al que se ocupa hoy. Porque durante estos 5 años yo he hecho lo que nadie ha hecho en mi ciudad.
Marquitos Toys is no stranger to controversy. Investigative journalist Anabel Hernandez has accused him of being a key player in the cartel's operations, involved in fentanyl trafficking and supplying weapons. In late 2023, Marquitos Toys drew national attention after sharing a video of himself in tears over the arrest of Nestor Isidro Perez Salas, aka El Nini, a high-ranking security chief for Los Chapitos. His public display of loyalty further cemented his connection to the cartel, but it also made him a target, following violent attacks on 2 of his restaurants, including firebombings. Marquitos Toys fled Mexico. This nexus of social media and cartel influence has become a dangerous phenomenon in Sinaloa. Cartels use platforms to glamorize their activities, with videos showcasing luxury cars, cash, and firearms. For influencers, aligning with this culture can bring fame and fortune, but the cost is often too high. Those who refuse to comply or cross invisible lines, whether through criticism, satire, or rival affiliations, risk violent retaliation. Juan Luis Lagunas Rosales, famously known as El Pirata de Culiacan, was a 17-year-old social media influencer whose rapid rise to fame came as a double-edged sword. Born in the rural town of Navolato, Sinaloa, Juan grew up in a challenging environment. His father was absent, and his mother struggled to support the family. Juan dropped out of school in the 5th grade and took odd jobs to help make ends meet. By his early teens, he had left his home and moved to the bustling city of Culiacan, the capital of Sinaloa, where he began working at a car wash. So far so good, but he would soon end up on the wrong side of the cartel. It was in Culiacan, a city synonymous with drug cartels, that Juan started building his online persona. He adopted the moniker El Pirata de Culiacan, a nod to the region's outlaw culture and his affinity for living recklessly. His social media content was brash, over the top, and unapologetic.
¿Qué pasa? Dámelo. ¿Qué te pasa, pendejo? ¿Qué te pasa? No me dejes.
Videos showed him guzzling expensive liquor, partying with much older crowds, and boasting about his hard partying lifestyle. His charisma and audaciousness endeared him to thousands, particularly young fans who admired his boldness and perceived rise from poverty to internet stardom. By the time of his death, Juan had amassed hundreds of thousands of followers across YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. He could certainly be classed as a local internet celebrity. However, his unfiltered content also attracted controversy and, eventually, danger. In one of his videos, likely under the influence of alcohol, Lagunas Rosales directed a reckless insult toward El Mencho, the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG for short. He made all kinds of insulting and offensive comments about the cartel boss, an unwise move in a place notorious for cartel killings.
Así que el metro a mí me
The remark was a grave misstep in Mexico's perilous cartel-dominated landscape. In a culture where respect is paramount, especially among criminal figures, his words were seen as an unforgivable affront to one of the most powerful and ruthless cartel leaders in the country. Why Juan would insult the cartel boss is beyond the guessing capabilities of most people, and many hoped that El Mencho would not see the video, but he did. On the night of December 18th, 2017, just weeks after the video was uploaded, Juan was at a bar called Mentados Cantaros in Tlajomulco de Zúñiga, Jalisco. Despite the evident risks, he continued to flaunt his lifestyle publicly, seemingly oblivious to the danger he was in. That night, as he partied with friends, a group of heavily armed men stormed the bar. Without hesitation, they opened fire, unleashing a barrage of bullets. Juan was struck more than 15 times, dying instantly. Another individual at the bar was also injured in the attack. Once again, the murder bore all the signs of a cartel hit, a swift, brutal, and calculated message to anyone considering disrespecting the CJNG or its leader. The aftermath of the killing reverberated far beyond Jalisco, serving as a chilling reminder of the cartel's reach and their intolerance for perceived slights. It was another terrible instance of cartel justice against social media icons who thought that they were untouchable. The deaths of all of these influencers, along with the precarious rise of figures like Marquitos Toys, illustrate how deeply cartels have infiltrated both physical and virtual spaces. In Sinaloa, the price of freedom of expression often comes in blood, as the cartels enforce their dominance with ruthless precision, silencing dissent both on the streets and online. Social media, once a tool for connection and creativity, has become a weapon of control and fear in one of the most dangerous regions of Mexico. So now it's over to you. What do you think of YouTubers and other social media people being killed for their disrespect towards the cartel? Should the cartel take social media content so seriously? Be sure to let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching the video. And if you thought these influencers had a terrible ending, don't miss the story of these female cartel bosses.
Tonight we're learning more about new reports coming out of Mexico that female assassins are now working for the cartel. A Mexican television station capturing the women on the move, wearing tactical gear and armed with assault rifles.
They are stylish and beautiful, and in many cases, they are armed and active within Mexican cartels. According to one expert who trains American law enforcement on cartel activity, female numbers are on the rise. Now, law enforcement research indicates that cartels are still very much male-dominated, but in recent years, more women are joining the ranks in more active and deadly roles.
When you think about leaders of drug cartels, you likely picture tough, older men like Pablo Escobar, El Chapo, and Miguel Ángel Felix Gallardo. They were powerful figures who didn't hesitate to resort to violence when necessary. It's less common to imagine young, attractive women in such roles. However, appearances can be deceiving. And sometimes, individuals who appear innocent and beautiful on the outside can be brutal and cruel on the inside. This was certainly the case for La Catrina, whose real name was Maria Guadalupe Lopez Esquivel, was a beautiful Mexican woman with long, dark hair and a charming smile. Despite her outward beauty, La Catrina had a dark side. She used her looks and charm to play a leading role in one of the most violent and ruthless Mexican cartels in history. Contrary to popular belief, being a woman didn't stop La Catrina from quickly rising within the cartel. In fact, she was a high-ranking member who was just as brutal and ruthless as her male counterparts. She also used her good looks and body to become a famous Instagram star, showing off her guns, expensive clothes, and other things she got illegally by working for the cartel. She was proud of being in the cartel and liked showing off her criminal lifestyle. Despite her beauty, La Catrina was a ruthless killer who'd stop at nothing to make her cartel stronger. In the end, she paid the ultimate price, her life. Now, let's dive into the short and brutal life of this notorious female narco. La Catrina came from a modest background. She grew up in Tepocatepec, a city in southwest Mexico, where her father worked as a farmer and her mother was a homemaker. While they were a respectable family, money was often tight, like many others in their community. During her childhood, La Catrina didn't enjoy school and dreamt of a brighter future. She wanted to live a life of luxury and comfort. As she entered her teenage years, La Catrina made a life-changing decision to leave home. Around this time, she became very interested in cartels, partly inspired by her admiration for Kate del Castillo, a popular actress who portrayed a female narco boss in the Spanish TV series La Reina del Sur.
Nos vamos al refugio. No te separes de mí, ¿ok?
No me puedes dejar aquí, por favor.
Necesito alejar estos de la playa. Es la única opción que tenemos, ¿ok?
Mendoza! You are good, but I got you.
In 2017, La Catrina's opportunity to join a cartel and pursue her dream of becoming a female narco finally arrived. She crossed paths with and fell in love with Miguel El Mayo Fernandez, one of the leaders of the notorious Jalisco New Generation Cartel.
Fueling America's bottomless demand for drugs, Jalisco New Generation Cartel, known as CJNG, is now considered the most dangerous and fastest-growing drug cartel in the world.
Ven todo este dinero que tengo aquí. Yo no lo gané robando ni siendo narco. No, siendo narco sí.
The Jalisco New Generation Cartel, also known as CJNG, is a ruthless criminal organization that originated in the Mexican city of Jalisco between 2013 and 2015.
Jalisco is the home of world-famous mariachi music, the birthplace of tequila, and now Mexico's western state of Jalisco is a hotspot for drug-related violence. Much of it perpetrated by an armed group called the New Generation Jalisco Cartel.
This cartel is led by Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, also known as El Mencho, one of the most wanted drug lords in the world.
Tonight, the DEA is offering $10 million for information leading to the arrest of the Mexican drug kingpin known as El Mencho. He's blamed for a flood of narcotics into the U.S.
CJNG is known for its extreme aggression and constant use of violence to expand its influence into new territories. There have been disturbing rumors of unspeakable acts committed against their rivals.
Y entonces, y pelándola, les cortan los brazos, y les quitan como que fuera yuca, pues, le quitan la carne, la cabeza por allá, los brazos por allá, y todo como.
They are known for using advanced tactics, such as drones and rocket launchers, to target their enemies. One time, they even fired at a military helicopter with a rocket-propelled grenade.
The Jalisco New Generation Cartel took the fight to the next level, shooting down a military helicopter with a rocket-propelled grenade, killing people, 6 of them, last week. Look at that. As the country cracks down on drug lords, the cartel has emerged as a new force, and a violent one.
But they're primarily known for their involvement in the narco trade, smuggling all manner of addictive products to various regions worldwide, including Europe, Asia, Australia, and the Americas.
The Jalisco New Generation cartel started, and now they've managed to become a really organized organization. They have the control of Jalisco, Michoacán, Guerrero, even Veracruz, which is a state on the complete opposite side of the country. And what they're doing is exporting and methamphetamine, and so far we can say that Jalisco New Generation is enemy number 1 of President Enrique Peña Nieto's government now.
A major Mexican drug cartel operative has been sent to prison for trafficking meth in South Texas for over a decade. 48-year-old Homero Guerra Moreno from Mexico will serve 27 years in federal prison. It happened in Laredo on Wednesday. Since 2013, Guerra Moreno trafficked more than 33,000 pounds of meth from the Cartel de Jalisco Nueva Generación.
The U.S. Justice Department has labeled CJNG as one of the 5 most dangerous international criminal organizations in the world due to its significant role in trafficking drugs into the United States and the terrible violence it causes in Mexico. CJNG emerged as one of the greatest rivals of the Sinaloa Cartel, especially after the arrest and imprisonment of the infamous drug lord Joaquín El ChapoGuzmán in 2019. Because of the CJNG's growing power, many have decided to join, including women. They often take on smaller, less violent roles within the cartel, such as helping to grow the illicit substance or participating in the transportation. For many Latin women, joining the cartel is the only way they feel they're able to escape poverty and provide for their families.
Según versiones de algunos informantes que manejamos nosotros en el sector, muchas mujeres, lastimosamente por la situación económica del país, se ven involucradas en trabajar de informantes de las pandillas o de venderles droga.
Nosotros somos pobres, sembramos, vendemos la hojita para mantener nuestro hogar y nuestros hijos educarlos. Dice que va a haber apoyo para dejar sembrar las cocas. Hasta el día de hoy, ¿qué apoyo? Nada, ningún apoyo para nosotros.
However, unlike most of the women who only want to survive, La Catrina's ambitions went far beyond that. She aspired to achieve more, and eventually became one of the CJNG's most notorious female cartel leaders of all time. La Catrina didn't just join the cartel to survive. She wanted money, power, and control, and would stop at nothing to get to the top. Quickly, she became an assassin for the cartel, otherwise known as a sicaria, or a hit woman.
According to security experts, female cartel members are not new, but their numbers are on the rise lately. And with a lucrative drug war raging in Mexico, more women are becoming assassins, often even more ruthless than the men.
They don't want to be the cartel wife of the old days. They want part of the action. They love the action, they love the excitement, they love the money. They want to be able to call some shots also.
Not only calling shots, but taking shots and lives as sicarias, or female assassins, a major asset for cartels.
Sicarias like La Catrina use their charm and good looks to lure in the cartel's enemies. They operate like spiders, drawing their prey into their webs, leaving them with nowhere to escape.
You know, it could be a very pretty girl that you say, oh, there's no way this girl works for the cartel. Or if she does work for the cartel, she's definitely not a killer. And then they find out that that's not the case.
La Catrina didn't just use her beauty to attract enemies. She also leveraged it to promote the cartel. She became an Instagram model, using her appearance to draw people in and showcase the cartel lifestyle. She posted images of herself, showing off her figure while holding dangerous firearms. She shared photos and videos of helicopter rides, handling money, and participating in other illegal cartel activities. She shamelessly displayed her ill-gotten wealth and lifestyle working as a cartel sicaria. In time, La Catrina's beauty, brutality, and dedication to the cartel catapulted her to a position of power within the CJNG. She became a local boss and one of El Mencho's top regional lieutenants. She led her own team of ruthless hitmen, who, under her command, became one of the most feared groups within the entire cartel. La Catrina played a significant role in planning, organizing, and executing various serious crimes for the cartel, which included kidnapping, extortion, and leading cartel assassinations. Additionally, she paid fellow criminals and informants who supplied her with valuable information she could use to help the cartel. Under the guidance of her boyfriend, El Mayo, La Catrina was able to become the notorious and lethal narco boss lady she had always aspired to be. She was able to cause some serious harm, planning deadly attacks that took many lives. Eventually, she earned the chilling nickname, La Catrina, symbolizing her role as the cartel's Dame of Death, who brought death and destruction wherever she went. So how did the title La Catrina come about? And why did Maria Guadalupe Lopez Esquivel select it as her gang name? It all began in the early 1900s, when an artist named Jose Guadalupe Posada introduced a character called La Catrina, which translates to the elegant lady, in a political cartoon published in the local newspaper. Posada drew inspiration for his character from the Aztec goddess of death, the ancient ruler of the underworld. According to Aztec beliefs, this goddess protected the bones of the dead and controlled access to the afterlife. Using elements inspired by the Aztec deity, Posada drew a skeleton-like figure dressed in fancy European attire. This figure, known as La Catrina, was intended to mock Mexico's wealthy elite.
Posada published what would become his most famous image, La Catrina. At the time, many of Mexico's ruling class were obsessed with acting and looking European. To mock them, Posada put a fancy French hat on the Aztecs' female god of death. His statement, rich or poor, we all die. Death is the great equalizer.
But as time passed, La Catrina became more than just a satirical cartoon character. She became a significant part of Mexico's Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead celebrations. Today, La Catrina serves as a reminder that death is something no one can escape. She is also a symbol of remembrance and pays tribute to those who have recently departed. During Day of the Dead celebrations, you can spot La Catrina all around. In paintings, sculptures, and even on clothing and masks, she has become an important symbol of Mexican culture, representing a balance between life and death.
Porque quiero verme como ella.
Maria Guadalupe Lopez Esquivel aimed for fame and power like the famous Dame of Death, so she chose the name La Catrina to show she was a force in the cartel who had the power to decide whether others would live or die. She even got a tattoo of La Catrina on her left thigh, which she proudly displayed on her social media. Her tattoo resembled the typical image of La Catrina, a beautiful lady with a skeleton face. Like La Catrina, death was a significant part of Maria's life. She was as cold and unfeeling as the Aztec goddess of death, on whom the character was inspired, and cared very little about other people's lives. La Catrina was responsible for many deaths, even orchestrating a plan that tragically took the lives of several officers, turning her Dame of Death title into a grim reality. On October 14, 2019, a tragic event unfolded in El Aguaje, a town in Mexico. It marked one of the deadliest attacks ever carried out by La Catrina, under the orders of El Mencho. On that fateful day, officers were serving a warrant to a home in El Aguaje around 8 a.m. What they didn't know was that they were walking right into a dangerous trap set by the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. As the officers' trucks drove through El Aguaje, they were suddenly attacked. About 30 gunmen started firing at them with powerful weapons, like 50 caliber sniper rifles, AR-15s, and AK-47s. The area quickly turned into a bloody battleground. Heartbreaking images of this terrible attack showed several officers lying on the ground with devastating injuries. Their patrol trucks were riddled with bullet holes before being set on fire.
Una chamba de 4.
Tragically, 13 officers lost their lives, and at least 9 others were hurt. This attack stands as one of the deadliest assaults on Mexican law enforcement in recent times. To claim responsibility for this terrible act, gunmen from the Jalisco New Generation Cartel left messages on 2 poster boards. These messages not only admitted their role in the brutal attack, but also sent a chilling warning to officers working with rival groups, specifically naming Los Templarios, Viagras, and Chocomiles de Tepec gangs. After the attack, fear spread, and people stayed off the streets to avoid getting caught up in the CJNG cartel's violence. The families of the victims were devastated. Officers felt abandoned and angry, with one officer saying, "We don't have the means to defend ourselves. We don't have the support we need to take on any criminal group. So why did this attack happen in the first place? what was the CJNG's goal? Well, the CJNG had its sights set on taking control of El Aguaje and the surrounding areas, known collectively as the Tierra Caliente, or the Hot Land. Falco Ernst, a Mexico researcher at the nonprofit International Crisis Group, described this region as a chaotic area with no clear authority where various criminal groups operate. The area is very violent, with many fights and deadly attacks breaking out between rival cartels. The CJNG aimed to establish dominance in the Tierra Caliente region and take over control of the drug trade. Their strategy involved eliminating smaller or weaker rival cartel groups, some of which had connections with local law enforcement and politicians. By targeting the police, they intended to send a straightforward message. Anyone supporting rival gangs would face violent repercussions from the CJNG. So what was La Catrina's role in all of this? Well, after the attacks, Mexican security forces found evidence that La Catrina played a big part in the ambush. She paid a group of informants, known as halcones, about $210 each week to gather vital information for the cartel that she could use for her plans. Plus, there's an audio recording where La Catrina confirms getting orders from her boyfriend, Miguel El Mayo Fernandez, to set up the attack on the convoy scheduled for October 14th in Agalija. In that leaked recording, El Mayo tells La Catrina what to do, and she assures him that she's got everything covered and will carry out the mission. El Mayo asks, "Are you taking responsibility for what I told you?" And La Catrina replies, "Yes, Commander, we just had a flat tire." But it's important to note that La Catrina wasn't the only one responsible. Some El Aguaje officers think that their own colleagues might have been involved in the deaths of their fellow officers. They suspect this because they were sent into El Aguaje without enough backup, even though everyone knew it was a dangerous place due to cartel violence. So some believe that corrupt officials might have made an agreement with CJNG to send in lower-ranked officers, despite knowing what would happen to them. Overall, this attack highlights La Catrina's deep involvement in the cartel and sheds light on the overall brutality of the CJNG. It also serves as a sobering reminder of the risks law enforcement officers encounter when dealing with organized crime. Furthermore, it exposes the unsettling reality that even within Mexico's justice system, there is corruption, which creates more opportunities for the cartels to strike. In January 2020, Mexican authorities were determined to catch La Catrina. They knew she had played a big role in the attack that killed several officers in Aguajilla back in October 2019, and they wanted to bring her to justice. Their effort to catch her had become more intense, and this put La Catrina in a risky situation. The Mexican Army, National Guard, and Michoacan State Police eventually found her and her group in a town called La Bocanada in Aguajilla, Mexico. This set the stage for a fierce battle. Before the fight, the cartel tried to block the Apatzagan-Aguajilla road to stop officers and security forces from reaching their hideout. But the security forces acted fast and removed the roadblock, which led to a gunfire exchange. Once they got rid of the roadblock, the security forces had the upper hand, and the confrontation ended. During the chaos of the gunfire, La Catrina, the notorious gang member, was hit. Later, she could be seen lying on a stretcher en route to the hospital, her jeans and black t-shirt red-stained. La Catrina's injuries were really bad, and she eventually died because of severe bleeding from her neck wound. She was the only one who didn't make it that day. None of the law enforcement agents or CJNG gang members got hurt during the raid. However, the officers did catch at least 6 other CJNG members. At first, there were rumors that one of those 6 was La Catrina's partner and the CJNG's top boss in Tierra Caliente, Miguel El Mayo Fernandez.
Miguel Fernández, alias el M2, y jefe de la Plaza del Cártel Jalisco Nueva Generación, CJNG, en Tierra Caliente y quien fue detenido el pasado 10 de enero por el ejército mexicano, tras un enfrentamiento, en el que murió María Esquivel, la Catrina, ambos presuntos líderes.
But later reports said El Mayo wasn't among the CJNG members captured in this operation. The army also seized a bunch of weapons like rifles, magazines, and ammo from the gang. They also took away several gang-owned vehicles during the raid. La Catrina was just 21 years old when she died, and she had spent most of her short life involved in cartel activities. In her social media posts, she portrayed herself as a strong femme fatale. However, in her final moments, she looked scared and alone, like a frightened child. Her tough exterior had finally crumbled, and it was clear she regretted the choices that led her to this point. She knew her time was up and that the terrible thing she had done had finally caught up with her. The tragic end of La Catrina reminds us of the dangers tied to cartels and organized crime. Her death was just one part of Mexico's ongoing battle against these criminal groups. Although La Catrina is no longer alive, the CJNG cartel remains as strong as ever and is still one of the most dangerous gangs in Latin America and beyond. La Catrina dedicated her short life to the cartel, but met a violent end. This tells us that no amount of money, drugs, or fancy possessions could protect her from her terrible fate. In Mexico and other countries, law enforcement officers and agencies are working hard to fight organized crime and to make their communities safe. But it's important to realize that not everyone within these agencies is committed to justice. Some have become corrupt and are working with the criminal groups they should be opposing. La Catrina was able to cause more harm because of this corrupt system. More women like La Catrina are choosing to join cartels for money, protection, and power. How many more women like La Catrina will emerge before we see real change? Share your thoughts in the comments below.